the 29th of June, 2025. And here in bright and sunny Israel, where I am at the moment, where the Bitcoin market is doing something very interesting. If you've been watching my videos, you know we are seeing the beginnings of the supply shock incoming. If you don't think it's happening, just take a look at the numbers, right? Something like 19.5 million out of the 21 million Bitcoins have been mined. And the remaining, million and a half or whatever will be mined over the next like 116 years or something crazy, 114, whatever long, until 2140, roughly, the year 2140. So that's quite a ways away, right? To scrap out the remaining, few percent that remain to be mined. And, more than like at least twice as much, if not more, 3 or 4 times as much as what remains to be mined has already been lost or inaccessible. So whatever is being mined will never even make up for the amount that is inaccessible. So at most, even if zero of the mining that has yet to be done ever gets lost or inaccessible, at most you're still going to only have anywhere from like 15 to 18 million of the 21 million that'll ever be accessible. It's probably closer to 15, but whatever. We'll say 16. Okay, so roughly 1 in 4, right? Or even if you want to call it 1 in 5, 1 in 5 Bitcoins will be inaccessible, right? Forever. That's huge. It means only 4/5 of the full supply will ever be available at most. Plus, people keep losing it, so over time it'll be even smaller. And people keep doing stupid things with it, like sending donations and tributes and sacrifices, basically burning or blocking off their coins forever by sending them to like known dead wallets, right? Or wallets that we know belong to Satoshi, and Satoshi's not around and hasn't moved his coins and has no indication of doing so. And if Satoshi's even still alive, Satoshi's got already over 1 million Bitcoins. Why are people sending him more? That's insane. But people do crazy things, and that's just an example of some of the crazy things people do. And to that end, there is a supply shock coming, and it means that there's not a lot left, and that there's still a demand. And I got to tell you, I keep hearing people say, "Oh, hodl forever." Listen, hodl forever if you don't need to sell it, right? But there are people who do need to sell for whatever reasons. And to them, I say, sell away. I would hope that you could sell it to a retail investor, but you probably can't. I would hope that you would sell it to an organization that isn't a massive whale, but you probably can't. Because 90% of all the Bitcoins are already held by wallets. 90% of all the Bitcoin there can ever be, by the way. Right? Out of the 21 million, 90%. And not even 21 million have been mined, but out of those 21 million, 90% are already held in wallets with 1,000 or more Bitcoins. 95% are already held in wallets with 100 or more Bitcoins. So that means only 5% remains in wallets with less than 100 Bitcoins. And by the way, if you got 99.9999 Bitcoins, yeah, your wallet doesn't get counted in the 100 or more wallets, but you still have a lot of Bitcoins. Even if you got 80 or 70 or 50, I mean, how much would you give to have, 20 Bitcoins right now? right? Probably a couple $1,000,000, right? Because that's what they're worth, right? You'd probably be very happy to have 20 Bitcoins right now if you don't have any Bitcoins right now, or 21. Be part of that infamous 21 club. If you're not familiar with that, it's probably because it hasn't been spoken about in a bunch of years. But there can only be, if it were evenly distributed amongst all people, and then some people acquired more, some acquired less. There could only ever be 21. There could only ever be 1,000,000 people with 21 coins, right? And then there wouldn't be any left. Well, obviously, it's been distributed to far more than 1,000,000 people in tiny fractions and satoshis and whatnot, because that's what most people have, if they have any. Out of the 100 or 200 million people that are estimated to have any amount, it might even be as low as 50 million, but let's just say on the high end, 200 million people have any Bitcoin at all in their wallets. Well, those 200 million people include practically 200 million people who have fractions like satoshis, right? And a very, very, very small amount, right? 5% who have 100 or more. 10% who have 100 or more in any given wallet, and only 5% who have 1,000 or more. Right? They own the 95%, right, of the coins. And it's not 10% of wallet holders that have 100 or more coins. It's the wallets with 100 or more coins own 90% of all the coins that can ever be mined. And the wallet owners who have 1,000 or more own 95% of all the Bitcoins that can ever be mined. You understand what the difference is? Right. And the actual amount of people who own 1,000 or more Bitcoins in a wallet, the amount of organizations or wallet holders or whatever you want to call them, that actually own that many Bitcoins in a wallet, is in the low thousands. Okay? If you look at, you can see this, it's on-chain analysis. It's very easy to see. Like, you can do it yourself, by the way. You don't have to rely on third parties. You can actually look it up if you're any good at investigative type work. Right? You can look up the wallets that have 1,000 or more Bitcoins in them. Guess what? You know what? Satoshi Nakamoto, the inventor of Bitcoin, doesn't really have any wallets with 1,000 or more Bitcoins in them. You know what that means? None of his wallets are considered whale wallets. You know what that means? Because there's 1,000,000 Bitcoins that he owns, or that she owns, or that it owns, or that they own, that Satoshi owns, 1,000,000 or more Bitcoins estimated that are not in whale wallets. So they don't get counted in the whale count. You realize what that means? We're talking like 4% or something of all the Bitcoins held by one entity, Satoshi. 4% are not even included in that 90% whale count of 100 or more Bitcoins per wallet, because most of his wallets just have to have 50 Bitcoins in them because they got a block reward of 50 Bitcoins, and they received the wallet and they received the Bitcoins and he never touched them. His computer automatically, just each time he would get a block reward, would automatically go to a different Bitcoin wallet address, which is a very smart thing to do. Right? Kept them all decentralized, kept them from being too many Bitcoins in one wallet, kept that wallet from being, any one wallet from being the massive 1,000,000 Bitcoin jackpot that if somebody broke into, could unleash all kinds of craziness potentially. Right, so no one wallet has really more than, there's a few that have maybe a bit more, especially the ones that keep receiving donations for some crazy reason. Stop sending your money to Satoshi. Satoshi doesn't need your money. If you had 1,000,000 Bitcoins, do you realize how much money that is? It's like more than $100 billion. Okay. I mean, think about it. Like, they've got, at BlackRock, they've got 600,000 of them. and they've spent like what, and they're worth like 60 something billion. I mean, it's real easy math. 100 grand per Bitcoin, 100 grand and change. Another 100 grand and change, 100 and something, another organization, Strategy, owns 600,000. So that's another, 60 billion. So if you owned 400,000 more, you'd have a million of them. So instead of 60 billion for 600,000, you'd be at like 100 billion for if you had a million, right? Right. What would you do with $100 billion worth of Bitcoins right now? Would you sell any? If you didn't have any other money, you couldn't pay for groceries. All you had is 100,000, is a million Bitcoins. You had no other money, no other source of income, nothing. All you have is a million Bitcoins. What would you do? Would you maybe sell 1 or 2 or 20 just to be able to, I don't know, pay your bills for the rest of your life? And then just keep the rest and never touch them? Because they're probably just going to go up over time, and wait till they're worth millions of dollars. And if you pass away in the meantime, leave them to your heirs. What would you do with a million Bitcoins? All right, that's the question Satoshi must have asked Satoshi, if Satoshi was in fact an individual or an organization. As Satoshi once famously wrote, Bitcoin, it's probably worth getting a few. Probably worth getting some in case it ever catches on. Yeah, pretty wise words. Meanwhile, right, the market keeps on moving, and it moves with the VEPs. If you know how to read the VEPs, and you know how to trade with the VEPs, that's fantastic, because every asset moves with the VEPs. What are the VEPs? The VEPs are volatility, entropy, probabilities, and statistics. VEPS, VEPs, right? Why are they so useful? Well, because those are the actual maths that are used by the HFT firms and the quant trading shops that they use to run the algorithms that actually conduct the vast majority of all trades on any asset, on any time frame, on any market. It's not by coincidence that they use those maths. Those maths are highly relevant because all the big bots use them. Well, when you're running systems that are running more than 80%, 90% of the trades on any market, you're controlling the system, right? And if 10 companies, 20 companies, even 100 companies in a global market are doing that, right? And they're running millions of trades per second with the average trade lasting less than 0.2 seconds, okay? Like the buy and sell order is done within 0.2 seconds because they just have to move it a tiny pip, a tiny little amount, right? A pixel on the screen with the position sizes they have and with the low fees or no fees that they have. Yes, that's what they pay for access, they pay for fast connections to the market, etc. But given all that, with all their costs and everything, right, they can run trades in less than 0.2 seconds and still come out very profitable at the end of the day, week, quarter, and year. And that's exactly what they do. So that is why it is wise to run trades using those algos and maths, and not to try to use Voodoo TA, which is what the retail traders use and which is what gets them wrecked. Right. Use Voodoo TA, knock yourself out. But realize that 99% or more of traders who use Voodoo TA do in fact get wrecked. I'm not saying that to decry Voodoo TA traders. If you want to use that stuff, knock yourself out. But you are choosing to be on the side that loses statistically. as opposed to being on the side that statistically wins. Your job when trading the VEPs is not to copy what the HFT firms and quant trading shops are doing. That's not your job. Right? Your job when you're trading with the VIPs is to do what the quant trading shops and HFT firms are doing, but not to try to copy them with their speed, because there's no way you will copy their speed. Okay, even if you have a bot, even if you build your own bot, okay, even if you build a bot that can do 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 trades a second, you're never going to have the capacity, certainly not on a commercial exchange, on a centralized exchange for retail traders. They're never going to let you trade hundreds of thousands of trades per second. Right? They'll ban you instantly the moment you try to do that. I mean, if you try to run 1,000 trades in a day, like in a trading session, they'll ban you. They'll suspend your account for months, sometimes, or a month. You will lose access to your own money. Like, it's no joke, right? They will literally ban you. And for what? For running a bunch of trades on your own money, right? Now, it may sound crazy to you, but it's a fact, right? There are plenty of traders who try to get smart and try to like, I literally see it all the time, you know? So, my sagacious words for the active trader who does not yet use the VEPs, but is thinking about it, is very simple. Very simple. Use the VEPs, but unless you have like access to HFT bots, like unless you work in an HFT firm or a quantitative trading shop that has servers that actually can run millions of trades per second and can execute those orders without getting banned on various retail accounts. Hold on one second. If you are part of a quantitative shop or HFT firm or whatever, well, then guess what? You run the VEPs anyway, probably, right? In which case, congratulations, you already have your VEP system. You may call it something completely different, but that's what you're doing, right? You're trading the VEPs. If you're in one of those shops and you're not trading the VEPs, well, you should come to Alpha Trading and we'll show you what to do with your systems. Not only that, if you're in one of those shops and you're not trading the VEPs, or you are trading the VEPs, but you don't have like the RMLR, which Alpha Trading created, well, again, you should come to Alpha Trading because we will show you what to do with the RMLR. Which, by the way, if you have developers in your shop, and you obviously should if you're a quant developer or if you're a quant developer shop, well, then obviously you should be able to work the RMLR into your system. And if not, well, that's why we make it available to institutions who want to use it. Right? So you can get the RMLR from us at a really amazingly low rate when you consider the fact that it's an unlimited license, unlimited seats for your company. And if you break it down by month, even if you get the 2-month trial period, I think it's 2 months or 3 months, 2 months trial period, it is ridiculously cheap. And if you get anything longer than that, it is even more ridiculously cheap for considering what you get for it, right? It's insanely cheap. I highly recommend it. Obviously, that's my bias. So again, if you are an institution and you want access to the RMLR, well, you can do that now. You can get access to the RMLR and some other indicators that come with it. In fact, you can even get the whole package if you really need it. But from what we know, you probably have something similar to a bunch of our existing indicators, so you might not need or want those, but maybe you will, and that's fine. The point is we sell access really to the RMLR and a limited set of indicators that go with it as a kind of package. You can have the other ones if you want. To get all that, you just go to alphatradinghq.com and look at the information, the institutional indicators information page. There's a page all about that. Or you can just come to our Discord and ask us in a ticket. Just go to alphatradinghq.com/Discord. And you can ask us about our institutional packages. Just open up a ticket and the request support. Anyway, I didn't want to turn this video into a pitch video for our services. I only mention it because it comes back to my original point. If you have a large stack, and for whatever reason you feel like selling some, there's no shame in selling some. Now, if you don't need to sell some, would I suggest it? Well, I'm not a financial advisor, but no, I wouldn't suggest selling any Bitcoins if you don't need to. But if you do need to, never say never to selling Bitcoins. That's all I'm going to say about that. Ta-ta for now. Happy trading. Peace.